Another plugin that I was really excited to implement is kinematic collision deformer. I've always been very interested in this siggraph paper acting with contact in Ratatouille, cartoon collision and response. And I've read the paper quite a few times, never quite understood it, so I started trial and error doing little tests in my API, trying to understand what's going on, and eventually was able to get some results that I was happy with. And you see here, this is the very basic uh, show of the deformer. I've added a few things. I tried. You see here, I've have some threading going on. I'm just going to leave the threading off for now, and I wanted to go over some of the collisions that are some of the algorithms that I used for the collision, and show this is a attribute that creates it makes the deformation permanent, so you can actually paint with the separate mesh. But it's good to show the different algorithms of what's happening when the collision actually happens. So this is the cheapest version of the collision. Whenever this happens, it almost does like it basically does a closest point, and then it snaps the vert, and it tries to keep it in place, but it can slide all around, and you see that here where the spans are kind of mushing together and everything else. I'm going to turn that off, and then change the algorithm to what I call flip check, and then I'll turn the permanent back on. The flip check, what it does, you see there's a little bit more even distribution of spans. The flip check is actually going to raycast and get intersections. And once it finds an intersection with a piece of geometry, and it determines that whether it's inside or outside of that geometry, it's going to look backward and find like the normal and information of the collision, and then it's going to try and do some smart things to even out the spans and avoid some of the crashing and sliding of the geometry. And then the third algorithm is, oops, the third algorithm is, turn that permanent off, is called blend, and it's actually a combination of the first two. So the cheap and of course it's going to be slower because it's going to actually do both calculations, but I optimized it to where it's only doing like the raycast once. It's not doing it 2 times, one for each. It's getting all of the information at once, and the actual slow part is just the interpolating between the two bits of information. But I'll just turn on the permanent so we can take a look at what's going on inside. And here, this is the one I'm the most happy with because around the edges, it seems to hold the most detail. It does do a little bit of the smushing, but that's kind of good in a way because it gives when you have it subdivided and you have light hitting it, you're going to get more of a strong edge, and it's going to look better with ambient occlusion and other things. We'll put that piece of geometry back so you can see here you get this nice thing where you can tell that, or it doesn't look like there's any intersection. It actually looks like a nice hard piece. And then I'm going to turn off the permanent and just show a few of the I have a bulge amount, and then the bulge distance, and things like that. There is a curve. It's not working right now because Maya's having some issues, but I do have a fall off curve where you can actually go in and sculpt out the ramp of what the fall off shape looks like. Because Maya's ramp is actually kind of difficult and kind of archaic to implement, I've been thinking about maybe doing an animation curve component to this where you can actually change the silhouette based on an animation curve, and I think that would be much more stable, because then you don't have to rely on like if you change computers and you don't have the ramp file, which is like a mel file. If you don't have it set up right, you won't get that ramp anymore. It won't show up in your attributes. So an animation curve, everybody sees the animation curve, so I think that would be a good alternative.